Oh, no, that wore me out. My warning for you.
Hello, we're back, guys. I like it feels like I want to say better than ever, but maybe not. It's been a weird 2 weeks. It's been a weird week this week, and we have lots to chat with you about, starting with Samhain. But if this is your first time with us, welcome to Crossroads of Cognizance, the place where we talk all things woo woo, metaphysical. We share commonalities between the East Coast, the West Coast, our modalities, and our individual experiences as healers, as energy workers, in order to give perspective, to give tips, tricks, and ways of managing life better. So, as we do that, you'll get to know each of us, but I'll start with some introductions. So my name is Dahlia Rose. I'm over here on the East Coast, holding down the fort at my shop, Crystal Cognizance, and supporting my community with healing, readings, intention work, meditation, and anything really that I can. Being a Virgo manifesting generator, um, God, all the things, all the different metaphysical things and titles I hold. Just as a human, I like to respond to the call, figuring that out very much so, which is why I love this show, because you guys give us a lot to talk about. Anyway, enough about me. I'm here with somebody very special.
I just want to say there's never enough about Dahlia. I love
Oh,
this woman to all distraction. And what she was saying about talking about ways to manage different things. It's not that we're gurus or anything. It's just that guess what, folks? We love you so much that we'll fuck it up so you don't have to. We'll tell you what didn't work for us because we are the hold my beer girls. We will go in to the fray unprotected and find
yep.
out what's in there for you. I'm Katrina Raspold. I am not in my shop because my shop isn't there anymore. My shop's here in my house and I love it. I love being semi retired. All my work is online now. All my clients live in a little box on my desk. It's fantastic. And I would be doing much better if I were not coming off of a week and a half of COVID, which, as I was with much more K's in my sentences explaining to Dahlia earlier, do not get this disease if you can avoid it at all because it does not like us. And what I do online is I do spiritual cleansings for people by remote. I do readings by remote. We have a retail presence at crossroadsoccult.com where you can order any of the services I described. You can also get handmade magical items like hoodoo products and washes and candles and all sorts of things for your magical needs. And that's what we do. I also wrote a book or two. You can find me on Amazon.com. Just type in Katrina Raspold and it knows exactly who I am because there are probably about 25 Raspolds in the whole world, and most of them I married or birthed. Now, we're going to be talking about Samhain and the best and other things because Samhain's a spinoff. If you guys could be in our pre-show, now we have some pre-shows that last 3 days where we spend a lot of time hashing out, yeah, we're going to talk about this and we're going to bring this in and then we'll, capitulate this into this and this and this. And then we have some like today where we have a 20-second pre-show and go. But our pre-show was a lot of fun. We came up with a lot of ideas to talk about this. But this is the most Samhain thing I can show you. Do you see this? This is a beautiful Samhain card sent to me by Colleen Richards.
Oh, and
And
Colleen.
it's just lovely. And I missed you too, Colleen. Colleen has been a friend of mine for, gosh, I don't know, Colleen, what about? It seems like forever. It's lots of years. I don't know. I can't count that high. Got the COVID brain. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm excited to be back here after missing last week.
We're excited to have you back. Truly. Glad you made it.
I'm glad I made it too. I didn't think I was going to make it for a few days there. That was rough.
Yeah, believe that to be true.
Yep.
These winter months are weird. So everybody, stock up on your elderberry stuff. Essential oils are helpful, but they're not going to cut it. and do what you need to take care of yourself. A lot of times when we cover things on the show, they are applicable to supporting you through physical healing as well. So, I am starting to come to terms with the fact that we don't live in, come to terms with, I kind of, no, I am integrating the fact that we don't live uh, uh, an avoidant kind of world. Like there's you can't avoid anything, so just it's not really worth trying. But if you can, manage it, balance it out, if you can at least support yourself through something that you have to go through, like once you catch COVID, you're not going to just like, you know, do a spell and it's going to be over. You have to go through it. It has to go through its life cycle. And so, with that being the case, if you are doing mental emotional work, and it's going to be hard. I mean, that's that. Even as a healer, I'm sure, Katrina, and you can share with us. I'm sure you were just focused on rest. You weren't like, "What do I need to heal from this?"
I
Right?
couldn't even focus.
Yeah.
It's weird how this just takes you over. What I compared it to with Eric is, and this will only apply to a few people, is when you're laboring and there's a period of time called transition when your body's shifting from, okay, we're dilating to we're pushing.
Mm.
And that period of time is usually only maybe a few contractions up to half an hour, or something like that.
Oh.
But it's when the pain is at its most intense because
Mm.
your body wants to hurry up and get done. And you go away. It's not you definitely feel the pain, but the pain becomes such a focus, such an all-encompassing thing that you can't talk to anybody, you can't be touched, you start to shake from the adrenaline that's coming up, and you're just in this state. And that's what the throes of COVID were like. And I've seen all these people that just bless their hearts, just it's just like a bad cold, or it's just this. And
For
oh
you.
man, I'm 61. I have never been this sick in my life. This and I got really sick from the vaccine. So I thought, oh, if this is as bad as it is, I'll be okay. And having the vaccine makes me not as sick when if I get COVID at all. Ha 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 ha. And no, man, I was on my back, dead to the world. It was so bad.
Hmm.
And I didn't have any magical focus at that time. I had a week that I couldn't do any magical work at all. I couldn't do any healing. I couldn't do any spell work, nothing. It was just insane, the level of illness that was there. And I thought about people who have respiratory illnesses already, or people who are immunocompromised, people who are dealing with other diseases, having to manage that. Oh, dear Lord. And there's nobody healthier than Eric. Eric is just a bear. Eric is beast. He is just he goes rock climbing on the edge of cliffs and runs marathons, and he's just so phenomenally healthy. And this is day 12 for him. And
Wow.
he just cannot believe how far down it took him. And he gets angry with himself. I should feel better than this. I'm just so exhausted all the time. And he just had it in his muscles. It didn't go to his chest. It didn't go to his sinuses. He just had muscle pain and a headache and a fever. And it just took him down. So you all be careful out there is all I'm saying. And
Absolutely.
he was not vaccinated. I am vaccinated.
Wow.
So I just think it's so individual. I think that for whatever reason, Dahlia, there is an experience people need to have in one way or another that they're going to have if they get this disease. And it's so individual. I was reading on the CDC website today because I wanted to be very clear on how long should I isolate? When should I start continue masking, this sort of
Right.
thing. And even the CDC says, look, we don't know. Everybody's different. Everybody is processing this different. And I don't know many other experiences we can really identify that are so specific and um, I don't know, very personalized to each human that gets it. And yeah, it was awful. So no, I didn't have any magical experience. There was no, I'm in bed for 6 days, and you would think I'd be meditating. You'd think I'd be considering, oh, my body must have really needed to rest or something like that. And there's no rhyme or reason. You figure that Eric and I were in face-to-face retail for 2.5 years of COVID. And with the public all the time, we followed our local mandates as far as masking and not masking. So we haven't been masked in months. Tons of people came through our doors, sat at our desk. Here comes my cat's ass. Hello. Um, Hugged us, told us thank you, spent time with us, cried on our shoulders. During that time, we were exposed God knows how many times. Never got sick. Right as soon as we retire and are in our house 90% of the time, he got it first. 3 days later, I was positive. So it's weird. It's just weird.
It is
But
weird.
there's a lot that has to do with what you're talking about in pre-show that I'm excited to get into, and COVID's part of that, I think.
Well, what struck me was the inability to engage with some self compassion on Eric's part, right? Like the shoulds and the shouldn'ts that he's putting himself through, and with Samhain being a period of transition, it's a time to bury the things and accept the transformation of death. Basically, some things have to die away, and one of the themes that I was seeing in my practice was a number of people sort of doing the similar thing, the same thing as Eric. There was a weird, quick, flashy energy to the beginning of October, the first 2 weeks. It was like, man, everybody's getting it. There's abundance flowing and synchronicities are happening. And I mean, it was just boom, 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 boom. And a lot of planetaries were in effect at the time. Planetary things were in effect at the time. And then, like over the last couple of days, and especially this week, there was this hard stop. And it was like that weird, lighter, abundant energy of October. And when I say it's weird, it's not normal for that time of year.
Mm-mm.
But the planets were having a party. And now the normal part of October has showed up and people are like, what is that? Like, what happened to all the fun? And what is manifesting is people feeling like they're being punished, people feeling neglected by their spirit guides, their loved ones, their deities, whoever they work with on an energetic or universal level. They're feeling some space and distance between those things, as if to say, they're not, well, they didn't follow this particular guidance, or they're not as far along on their path as they should be. And they're questioning it, when the reality of the situation is, you had your harvest in August. September, you were still maybe harvesting a little bit, but pulling things up. And then there was a weird moment for 2 weeks in October, and you're supposed to integrate all these things. And when I use that word, because I know it's thrown down a lot, it is to say you pick up each thing and you look at it, you deal with it. No, it isn't just that you accumulated money in this way. There was a force behind that, and that force was probably something in your energy field that was positive, or not even, I hate to say that, but like not positive, but there was something to be birthed in your field, and you saw the manifestation of that. Or there was, you stepped onto a new path because you made a decision. There were things that happened, and the integration period is for you to gain the fullness of what happened, rather than just waiting for God, deity, source to give it to you again at your request. There are things that we are supposed to take from the things that we go through, the experiences that we have to go through, like Katrina was said, good, bad, or indifferent, that we have to go through and gain from. Is everything supposed to be, a lesson or this or that? Maybe not, but it is a storybook to be read. So
I agree completely. And one of the things, Eric and I practice CUSP, which is climbing up the spiral pathway. And one of the tenets of Samhain that we're really big on is that is the end basically of your productivity for the year. And in our society, we tend to push and push and push and push and push. And you always have to be getting returns. You always have to be producing. You always have to be full on all the time, which is absolutely not a healthy psychological space to be in.
Right.
But our society demands it. So we do, which is why we have a lot of the neurodivergent and psychological conditions that haunt us. And what originally happened when we're talking about agricultural year, which is what our cusp is based on, is that, like you were saying, we harvest starting in August 1st. We harvest through September. We get to Samhain, and that is the end of it. There's even an old sort of superstition in Europe that anything that is left on the field on All Souls Day on November 1st is poison. You shouldn't eat it. And of course, there's no difference in a pumpkin that's in the field on October 31st versus November 1st. It's the same food. But it was a way of delineating, okay, like you said, full stop. You're done. Get out of the field. Burn the field. Put the field to rest for the year and stop with this. And then you went 6 weeks until Yule. And that's when you start only planning. What do you think you want to do with your field next year? What do you think you want to plant? Talk to your neighbors. What are they doing? What's going to best support the village? What is going to be the best crop to pull in after the crop you did last year? And then at on February 2nd, you take those ideas and you give them to God. You give them to your deity and you say, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Is this a good idea or is it not? Mm-hmm. You pray about it for 6 weeks. See what God tells you about it. Then you plant in the spring equinox. And so this is a time of stillness, and people don't like stillness. They do not like just being still. And that's what this time is about. And honestly, that's what I love about this time. But, mine came in the form of an illness of we had been rushing and rushing and rushing to get the store closed, to get everything into our house. I mean, we're taking a 3,500 square foot store and putting it into a 3,200 square foot home. And we're arranging and we're unboxing and we're sorting and disseminating and all these other things. And then, like you said, full stop, this illness took everything away. So it is disorienting. But what people have to understand, and this is also what you're talking about too, is this idea of continual reward and continual productivity is not guaranteed to any of us.
Nope.
We could all have a catastrophic accident and be paralyzed, or have a disease and suddenly be unable to work. You have a heart attack. You have to be in bed for this amount of time, or you have to change your diet. We are not guaranteed comfort, and we are not guaranteed ongoing rewards, but something in our spirit has wired us up to believe that that is an entitlement. And so when something different comes along, we're stunned. Like, what? How am I not your favorite child anymore? And we get angry at God, and we get angry with any of our divine figures, because we are not being rewarded right now in this moment. We're not getting what we wanted. I prayed 17 times about this, and I still don't have a pony. And so, we sometimes have to just stop and just be still. And that is the beauty of Samhain, is that stillness. Even the fields, after we plant them, have to be fallow for a while. They have to rest. They've got to rejuvenate the nutrients in them for the seeds that are to come. And sometimes we do that by setting them on fire.
Yeah, I don't think people are used to sort of the burning field metaphor, right? Now, what comes to mind as you're sharing is maybe we're still moving through the trauma of COVID, right? Like I feel like that was a global burning place. And the promises of, oh, well, by the winter it'll be gone. And it wasn't. In fact, it got worse. And so now the dust is settling. and there are new things going on, and but we're at field burning time, and so people can feel the heat. They're like, but are not ready to give up, but not realizing that it's not a giving up. I mean, you people would look at your situation, for example, and go, why would you just suddenly close a shop? I mean, it is it was beautiful, there was community, like why would you? And why would you do that? And you're like, I'm setting my seeds on fire for the next season. Like this is what it is. And it's hard to believe that what will grow from those ashes is going to be so much more sustainable. It's going to be a healthier option, more fulfilling. I mean, all of it. It's going to actually be a positive outcome, even though it was essentially, burned.
I love what you said about sustainability, and that's very true. We've really taken some crap for closing the store from people. People have said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that COVID just ravaged your store and that you weren't able to stay open." It's like, no, our store was successful enough that we can retire. that's, that was a blessing. That was my harvest,
Yeah.
was being able to retire from work and just work from my house. And then the next thing that comes on the heels of that was, well, isn't that kind of selfish when you can be out here helping people and you're just going to retire? And no, because what I was doing was not sustainable for me. I can
Right.
help more people and be healthier doing this. And yeah, so you do let some things go. There's I a guy that I used to go out with had he was significantly older than I was, and very learned. He was extremely academic and knew more than I could ever know in a lifetime. And
Oh,
he used to talk about the laws of existentialism. And I've seen the laws of existentialism referenced, but I've never seen the ones that he mentioned brought up. And one is, you cannot have everything all at once. Anytime in your life, you cannot have everything. Our arms are not designed to hold everything. The other thing was that every choice is bittersweet. If you choose one thing, you give up another thing. If you choose chocolate ice cream, you give up vanilla ice cream. If you choose both vanilla and chocolate, you give up strawberry. There's always something you're not going to have.
yeah.
And, we have to empty our cup from time to time in order to receive. And we just have this mind mentality that we should never have to give anything up. And sometimes we have to just freely release with love in order to have our arms open to receive other things. And that's also what Samhain is about. It's
Mm.
about letting go of what we think should be. Because sometimes what happened at harvest is that you planted green beans and you got this beautiful field of corn and you don't know what to do with it. So, what we want and our goals that we set don't always, um, how can I put it? They don't always manifest the way that we want to. And you and I have talked about that. And that sometimes, you know, I had one person I can think of in particular that was being evicted from their home because the owner was selling.
Oh,
And they did this huge spell with me to make sure that they had a home that they loved, that it would suit their needs, that it would be easy to move within their financial abilities and all of this. And they got really excited about moving, even though they had been extremely upset that they were going to have to move. Now they were excited about moving with the spell work underway. And it turned out that the owner decided not to sell the home and wanted them in a long-term lease with fixed rent. And they were bummed. They're like, we just got all jazzed up to move. And why didn't that manifest? Well, it did. If you look at the home you're in right now, it fits all the criteria
right.
that you asked for. And that's what I mean by, planting green beans and getting corn. Sometimes your wishes are answered in a different way. And so I think one of the best things about Samhain is releasing expectation.
Yes. Expectation is the mother of disappointment. The mother, the father, the grandparents, like it always precedes disappointment. There is no time that you could be like, I'm expecting this, and it is the like the clinging to the expectation of 100% of what you're going to get, that you see that you missed out on 5% of it, and you're like, damn, like, I guess
And
it
that's the
work
focus
out. And
thing.
you're like, wait a minute, but what about the other 95%? And
Yeah.
it's no, no, no.
That focus is
It
on
is.
the 5. And how often do we do this with partners? Where we have unspoken expectations. We expect them to behave as we would, even though they're a completely different person with completely different life experiences, completely different coping strategies. We expect them to behave and treat us the same way we act and treat them. And then we get all huffy when they don't, when they act in their, you know, when the scorpion stings the frog, when they act within their nature, we are somehow just shocked. and and so expectations can be really tough.
Yeah, and what about the opportunity to fully love that person? Like, if you know they're capable of something and you're still willing to ride with them, that's what unconditional love is. I was talking to my partner about this the other day. They asked me, what do you think unconditional love is? And I was like, well, it is knowing that I'm sleeping next to a murderer. I'm not saying they won't murder me, but I'm enjoying the moment. You know what I mean? But I fully accept their nature and ability to do certain things,
and
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 don't try
stop being
to plan
surprised.
over it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this brings another interesting point to the piece on waiting for deity to save you. I find oftentimes, and I would love for our audience to kind of take a deep dive into themselves for this, how you have your relationships, whether it be, your partner, your parents. Think about people that are that you believe are at your level, or that you commonly socialize with, and what those relationships are like, and then take those and see if they marry with what you think deity, God, the universe will do for you, because it often is a very reflective relationship. If you believe that your partner is supposed to take care of you, or you believe that your parents will hate you for something, and I'm saying believe as in literally believe, but that's not the case, because some parents hate their kids, and that's unfortunate. But if it is a belief that you have coming from a place of fear and anxiety of disappointing them, that you believe you will get punished, that may be what's going on in your connection with the divine. And so when we enter into these slowdown periods, are you asking, is that where the questions are coming from? Essentially the questions of, well, why did this slow down? Did I do something wrong? Did I miss a Sabbath? Like, what's happening? It sometimes, and you said this, but I'm going to quote Katrina on this, sometimes the world turns. And that's it. A lot of the energies that we engage with spiritually, mentally, emotionally go through cycles. It's not uncommon for even the physical body to have a memory, and then that time of year, it just starts to express that memory in each of the cells that were involved in that process. And then all of a sudden you're like, why do I feel this way? Well, what was going on for you last year? And that's hard to consider because time isn't real either. But in all of that, we have no control, and there's no avoiding any of this. And so I feel like engaging in this, in like Samhain practices or getting back to your roots, gives us an anchor for these sorts of changes, brings us back into the awareness of, okay, wait a minute, I have, when I light this candle, it means this thing. And I'm celebrating transitions in the year. Oh, wait a minute, I'm having umpteen number of transitions go on for me right now. And I can manage that a little better, as opposed to being unconscious and being like, why is everything burning to the ground for me? And feeling like a victim.
Well, and for people who identify as a witch, whether it's Bruja or it's a Wiccan or a hedge witch or green witch or whatever your identification, ceremonial witch, whatever your identification is, one of the key points, and I'm saying that because I know a lot of our audience do identify as witches. One of the key points is following the natural flows, tuning into the cycles of nature and applying those to your life. And it is a nature based practice. So the more that you follow the idea of, look, every October, I'm going to have this slowing down, and start to prepare for that and to know that that's coming every June, things are really going to start to heat up and pick up and get busy for me. I'm going to be exhausted every single August, September. That those are the natural flows. And that's not just woo woo. That's not just witchy stuff. That's science, because into the DNA of a lot of people is that old agricultural cycle.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're still tuned to that. Our bodies haven't yet figured out that we're getting our crap year round from the supermarket. And so, bird's eye is not a thing in the astral. So our bodies still respond in those ways. We still mimic those cycles. And so if the more you can tune into that and just go with that, the easier your path is going to be. And so we did with cusp, it was just, what are you? You're spiritual farmers. You're harvesting major life changes that you want to enact in your life. If you're going to be doing this anyway, do it with purpose, do it with intention, and create the changes you want in your life. And so Samhain for me, everybody knows that we witches just love Samhain. We love Halloween. And it's not just because that's our time. It's not just because we have representation. It's because it's a blessed time. It's a sacred time. And like you said, it's a time of transition. And one of the things you hear a lot at this time is, oh, the veil between the worlds is so thin right now. And it is, but it's called a veil. It's not called a brick wall between the worlds. Though the brick wall between the worlds is very thin right now. It only takes a small hammer to knock it through. It's a veil. So you can get through at any time. It's just that, boy, is it closer at this time. So it's just a spooky ass time. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that we slow down at this time is married to that. I think it's so we can hear the voices of our ancestors, so we can talk to people on the other side who wish us well. And don't any of y'all imagine that everybody on the other side wishes you well. They do not.
No.
But if they were an asshole over here, they're an asshole over there too. But there are those who do. You do have angels and saints and protectors and guides on the other side who can give you valuable lessons, valuable protection, valuable guidance, if you will shut up long enough to be still and listen. That's why we have all the ofrendas and the ancestor altars at this time, is to give honor to those who came before, to remember them so that we are then remembered. And so it's just a blessed, sacred time for connecting with the past, connecting with your own lineage, and enjoying that fellowship with those who have passed that you love. And unfortunately, with COVID, we have a lot of people who have passed.
Right. And with this thinning veil, I feel like it's sort of more than it's a veil across all boards, basically. And so if you do have cycles that are revisiting you, haunting you, if you will, appropriate time of year to address those things, maybe you make an altar to heal that or to gain more insight. But even more appropriate for this time of year, you can ask your ancestors, hey, how the hell did you get through this? Like, you had to survive some stuff, and I'm stuck over here in comfort, but also extreme displeasure. Help. And then see what comes of it, because again, the veil is thin. So ask.
You went through horrible times, but I'm in Facebook jail and I don't know why.
Can you talk to Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Get him to change his mind. What spell was that you did for the slave
Right.
master? You know what I mean? Like, I'm joking, of course. We have real problems in these times, but get creative. Think outside the box. We are never trapped in our circumstances. And at this time of transition, consider that holding on to things that are actively stabbing you and creating wounds in your field, maybe it's time to lay it to rest. Maybe it's time to allow the transition to take place. We just got through a eclipse, and that was a good time to bury some things. And I heard, I don't remember us talking about this. We talked about eclipse a few times because we have the luxury of experiencing so many eclipses over the last 2 fucking years.
Right?
Sorry, put so.
Eclipses and supermoons. Oh, this is the biggest the moon has ever been. This
Uh,
month.
somebody said that eclipse energy lasts 6 weeks. Have you? Okay, maybe mumbo jumbo then. Because I was like, oh, fuck all that. I was done. I was like, nope, checked out. How do I fix it? How do I unplug from that nonsense? Because I don't want it.
Yeah. Not for me anyway. I just try to catch it when it's happening, and maybe for a couple 3 days after is what I've experienced.
Yeah, I'm good. Lesson learned. I don't need 6 weeks of it. Yes, Stephanie, burn your fields. It promotes growth. I was having a quick conversation with a person, and they mentioned that we even the earth is sort of suffering from the lack of natural burning fields that would take place if we weren't here. And so everybody's out of balance when you stop doing the things that are natural to us, the cycles that we naturally move through, to include planet Earth herself. You know, we are we are the parasites causing issues. So
When there's an unusual silence, my grandfather used to always say that it was 20 minutes till or 20 minutes after the hour.
oh, grandfather is incredibly accurate.
He was, and I've noticed that to be true many times. But one of the things you were talking about that I am going to take a quick break and then be right back, that I want you to talk about some more, is this problem that my clients are having and your clients are having with parent issues.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so parental issues. Again, we sort of mentioned this relationship with deity reflecting issues of parents. And it seems like at this time of year, folks are having to revisit either the way they were parented, having adopted some aspects of their parenting habits. And this isn't, when I say parents, I feel like everybody has the opportunity to be a parent, even if they do not produce offspring. And so, are you the friend that everybody kind of looks up to? Like, I think they call them like the group mom or dad, right? So, are you the person that people comes to? Are you the person that kind of seems like they have their head on their shoulders straight, and everybody's like, man, how do you do it? And you end up sort of doling out advice and things like that. Well, there seems to be an uptick in renegotiating these parental contracts and having to look at outdated belief systems and things that our parents gave us, in order to change that relationship with deity, with God, with the universe, to say, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not being punished. Maybe I am, moving through this cycle of learning. Maybe I'm not, maybe this isn't about neglect. I mean, there is no point at which your spirit team, your deities, the universe is neglecting you. It's literally not possible. If you are in existence, there's nothing that makes these things go away. Even if you had the worst kind of spell, magic, evil wishing, negative wishing upon you, the only things that really could accumulate in that space would be distractions. And so, with this cycle of transition, where we can bury things, we can let things go, revisit old things, and find out that they no longer work. Um, what there is an opportunity for is to take some of those things and, like we were saying earlier, reevaluate. Does this serve me anymore? What am I getting from this? What have I gained from this situation? Do I need to move on? I did this with an email list recently, and as I sent out this letter that was basically saying, like, hey, it's that time of year where it's good to reevaluate what this newsletter means to you and what crystal cognizance means to you. Some of you guys haven't been back to the shop in a long time. You've moved on to more bigger and beautiful things. Some of you, are enjoying the newsletter in the background, but we don't really know. So what we want you to do is to evaluate your connection to us and to this newsletter and decide if this is something that is still serving you, you're learning, you're growing, or if it's time to let it go. And so I sent this newsletter out, and I can't say ever in my life have I been so elated to get people's no's. I'm at a place in my life where I actually enjoy when people tell me no, because it's from a place of so much more in authenticity than, oh, well, we don't want to hurt your feelings or this or that. It is, I am this is what I feel, and and there don't need to be any excuses for it. So I got, maybe like 10 people who unsubscribed, and they were just like, they didn't say anything. We didn't need to talk about it. But this no translates to, or can translate to, the connection that you have with your parents. We're in a season of not right now, not at the moment, it's too soon, and no. And especially as you go into the holidays, be aware of your no. And relating this back to relationship with deity, relationship with the universe, God, source, whoever you subscribe to, you have the ability to say, no, I don't want to. And you don't have to worry about being punished for not listening to guidance, or not being where you think you should be, simply because a lot of the things that we're experiencing are cycles. It will drift back around. It's either going to be a lunar cycle, or it's going to be a bigger planetary cycle where you're dealing with 30 days, 2 months, 6 months, a year, but the cycles always circle back around. Welcome back, Katrina.
Hi, I'm back. I'm back. And yes, you were so right about those cycles, and about the right to say no. We really underestimate our own power, and even deity gives us free will and allows us to choose. And if you even look to the Bible, I mean, Jesus even said, "Let this cup pass from me." Jesus had the choice to say no to the fate that was planned, and chose to follow through. So we can choose what we want to do. And if you do not want to go sit at Thanksgiving dinner with your abuser, you don't have to. You can say, oh, they're going to talk about me like a dog. So they probably are going to do that anyway.
Yeah,
You
with
might as
you.
well have Thanksgiving with people that you love and trust and enjoy. And people, as I'm sure you point out, they're struggling with parent power struggles right now. And I just today had a reading with a grown woman, a little bit younger than I am, who said, I can't reconcile the fact that my mother hates me so much. I don't know why she's so angry with me. And, the reading shows things like there are parts of you that remind her of herself and of roads that she didn't take. And I've had probably 3 readings in the last week of people struggling with parent things. And you're right, it is that time because we are looking at the holidays coming up. We're at a time of endings. We can naturally feel things need to be put to rest now. And so we can clear those issues up before things get crazy over the holidays. But yeah, free will is a huge thing. And the more that we look at our own empowerment and the fact that we make choices every single day to create different things in our lives, is it's accountability, and that's hard, but it's also empowerment of saying you can make choices to make it different.
Yes. Yes. And um, my my embodiment teacher uh, is very big on, and I love this about them, is very big on promoting that you are not here to just heal your ancestors' wounds. Like, you are not here to just be the project and the cycle breaker. Like, there will be some things, and it kind of comes to mind now as we're talking about Samhain, when you meet them at your altar for Dia de Muertos or whatever you celebrate, um, say, hey, I am done with this cycle in our family. I'm putting this to rest. There's no reason to carry this on as Thanksgiving tradition where we fight all the time, and you started that cycle, and no, I'm not doing it anymore. And it's very important, if you're struggling with your parents, to recognize maybe the lineage of that, like what was that like, and deciding not to just take your piece of that pie, but to say, no, I'm not eating this meal.
I've had to have that experience from the opposite side,
Oh yeah.
where I have 6 grown children, and some of them have kids, and some of them have partners. And so in the past, I had always been very militant of, I don't care if you kids get along or not. I don't care what you think of each other. You will, by God, be here. We will have Thanksgiving together like a normal, healthy family. You will put aside your little skirmishes,
Mm,
and we're going to have a meal together as a family because we're grown up and we can do that. And I did that for a long time, and I could just see the pain that they were in, because some of my kids, of the 6 kids, they're very different personalities, and some of them just don't like each other. Some of them don't respect each other.
mm,
And I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I pushing them to be here on this particular day and eat this particular food because that has some kind of relevance for me?
mm.
And I think it's because that when I was growing up, my mom had, I think, 8 brothers and sisters, and I had 27, 28 cousins.
Oh my.
And so we always had big meals together, and they fought all year long and everything, but we always came together at the holidays. We always supported each other, and they always just got over it. And so I had that expectation going in, and my kids are a little bit more hardcore than that. So I finally got it to where I was going to have to start having individual experiences with my adult kids
Mm,
based on who does get along and who doesn't. And I follow that now. So I'll often have 2 Christmases because this set of kids gets along and this set of kids doesn't. Or I'll go to one of the other kids' houses that doesn't get along with anybody and spend time with them. And I had to adjust as the parent. They did not, they would have done it if I really pushed them to.
mm,
But as a parent, I could see that it was really taking a toll on them. So we started doing different things. And I think as a parent, you have to do the same thing with your expectations that we do with our parents. We have to pull back and say, hey, is this working for everybody? Are these people genuinely happy
mm,
doing this? Or are we just doing it out of tradition or out of some kind of outdated, like, trope, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And so that's what I had to do, and I had to think, my kids' happiness is much more important to me than a particular meal on a particular day.
Well, and the authenticity that's brought through, as people are not just trying to grin and bear it, but they
Yeah.
are genuinely engaged with one another, genuinely care. There's less awkwardness, right? I mean, I don't live in a world where awkwardness can't creep in here and there, but it's not under the facade of, I have to be a different person because I don't feel safe here.
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
and so you actually get more of your children in what you've been willing to do. And it doesn't sound like it's cost you all that much. I mean, maybe having to cook twice as often, but
Yeah, yeah, it's that I'm still sorting out.
okay. Um, so with everything, transition point of year, um, a death cycle, so to speak. One of the interesting things I found in researching Samhain was that it is the Celtic New Year, and I was reminded of that when you started talking about the laws of existentialism, which you'll see me if you in the replay. I was like, oh my god, I need to see what these are because I was trying to research really quick because it sounds a lot like how I live my life. So labels are fun, but when you talked about needing to empty the cup, and I one thing that came to mind was that the cup will empty itself if you don't tend to it. That's overflow, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, overflow is great." Well, you can't control overflow. You can't control what is messed up as things overflow. But also, it sparked that thought about Samhain being the new year and having this empty cup of possibilities. So I thought that was wonderful and I wanted to share it. But for you, I mean, what are your Samhain plans, Katrina? Or do you have recommendations for? Uh,
Well, Eric and I think are going to have a sweat. He's working on rebuilding the sweat lodge because we haven't put one up here yet. So we're probably just going to be sweating it out on Samhain. Um, I'm having a thank you dinner for the people that helped us move the shop, and that'll be nice to be able to spend time with them, and we're cooking for them as gratitude for all the hard work that they did. I used to decorate a lot. I think it was 12 giant bins of Halloween decorations. I had the whole spooky town, and I used to do a ladder of decorations, and my whole house, the whole front of it, the inside would all be decorated with Halloween decorations. And of course, that's all gone now. And I just didn't rebuild. So I don't have hardly any decorations now. And I'm okay with that. I'm good with that because that was mostly something the kids enjoyed. We are so far remote that we will not get any trick or treaters this year, and that was always a big thing, was giving out candy to kids and stuff. And we did that at the store as well. And I'm okay with letting that go too. So as I've gotten older, our Samhain plans have dialed down. I'll definitely have a lot of things I'm putting to rest. Um, so it's all mostly personal for me. What I
okay.
want to say for all you folks is be the change you want to see in the world. Give those kids full-size candy bars. Don't be a Scrooge, man. You know how much my kids used to talk about the houses that gave out full-size candy bars? They were golden, absolutely revered. So dig deep, people. Halloween's big for little kids, and give those little guys the full size treatment.
I mean, perfect advice. No candle work, no nothing. Just make sure you go get those
Give
the
full
full
size
size
candy
candy.
bars.
You
Yeah.
know what? That's gonna make a more powerful impact than because those kids get excited about your house. And I used to tell my he was 2 at the time. God listens to kids' prayers. So
Hmm.
if they like your house and they're hyping you up for the universe, guess you get all your stuff anyway.
That'll buy you a lot in the year. You will get your money back on full size candy bars.
I want to kick a quick shout out to all the lovely people, at least that we can see. If you haven't said hello, feel free. But we've had tons of audience participation. I want to thank you guys. So Colleen, Tamara, Stone Bear, Rob, Colleen, Bella,
AJ,
and AJ, Stephanie, Kat, Colleen. I think I already said. Happy Samhain, everybody, because we're not going to see you until next Thursday. So you'll have had your Samhain, your Dia de Muertos. You'll have had trying to think of what else goes on at that time. But whatever holidays you celebrate or don't, just don't be an asshole and manage your stress and try to be the best human you can be and get full-size candy bars. We'll catch you next time on Crossroads, guys. Have a great night. Happy holidays.